Welcome to Grodno, one of the most picturesque, diverse and amazing cities of Belarus. Here you'll be amazed at the beauty of its architecture, plenty of greenery in summer, wonderful parks and also at the gorgeous river Niemen with its beautiful view. Grodno will meet you with the spirit of old times, and its picturesque scenery will fill you with positive and pleasant emotions. Without exaggeration, the city of Grodno can be called an open-air museum, as there are so many different historical sites that you will need several days to visit all of them. So we, the students of Grodno City Gymnasium, invite you on a virtual tour around our favorite city, and we would like to start our trip with the main landmark of Grodno, Grodno Drama Theater.
Grodno Regional Drama Theater is a professional state theater of the Republic of Belarus. It was founded in September 1947. The first chief director was N. Kavazin. The theater opened its doors on the 20th of October 1947 with the performance Truth is Well, but Happiness is Better. The first performances were held at the building of the Zingauzes Theater. Now it is called the Puppet Theater.
In the historical center of Grodno, you can see many other famous sites, such as the Fire Tower, Old New Castle, Synagogue, and others.
As you can see, our city is very old and beautiful, but in the past used to be burned very often. That's why a fire tower in the 19th century was built. The first mention of city fire protection refers to 1897, when the first fire station and bean pole was built. The exact age of the construction is unknown, but it's considered to be built in the early 20th, late 19th century. It was designed by architect from St. Petersburg.
The tower is a six-story building. The upper floor contains a viewing platform, a 10-story metal frame, and a 4G open-long fence. Inside the tower there is a structure of 120 wooden steps. The fire station number 1 has been restored recently. A new building was built on the place of the old depot, where you can visit the Firefighters Museum. Rare items and artifacts are found here. Among them you can find a fire pump of early 20th century made in a factory in Warsaw. Every day at 11:48, a man in the costume of firefighter of the 19th century plays the trumpet at the fire tower.
Grodno Synagogue is an architectural monument of the 16th century, a unique building not only on the territory of Belarus but also in Europe. The synagogue is an applicant for the World Heritage List of UNESCO.
It was built in the 1518 by Italian architect Santi Gucci. The synagogue was damaged during the fire of the 1899. Later it was restored. The contemporary building of the Building Hall Synagogue was built by Franklin at the beginning of the 20th century. The interiors of the synagogue are white. White is the color of the inner purity of man. Windows are made in the form of arches and resemble the rainbow, which is symbol of purification. In the center of the synagogue there is a platform called the bima. Here the Torah is read. The floor of the bima is tiled with mosaic in the shape of Isil's 8-pointed star, which is a symbol of evil. There are no icons in the synagogue. It is forbidden to decorate the walls with images of people. During the war, the synagogue was the center of the ghetto. At the time, the building was damaged greatly. For 15 years, the synagogue held warehouses and workshops. Unfortunately, a unique mosaic floor was destroyed. Nowadays, the synagogue is being restored.
The first defense installation was built in Grodno on the bank of the Niemen River in the 11th century to protect the town from crusaders. Upon the order of Great Duke Vitov, the building was transformed into a Gothic castle and became one of the major residences of the legendary Duke. During the reign of King Stephen Batory, the castle was remodeled to become a Renaissance-style palace and park ensemble. The new castle was built nearby in the 18th century as a royal residence. Today, the old castle and the new castle are the part of the Grodno Historical and Archaeological Museum. Today, the Korean tourists can visit the old castle, and it is situated on the riverbank of the Niemen River. The Regional Historical and Archaeological Museum is located here. The fortified castle emerged on the banks of the Niemen in the 11th century. 100 years later, the fortress was turned into a prince's residence. At the same time, the Lower Church was built. From the 14th century, Witold lived here. In 1398, he built a Gothic castle of stone and brick with 5 towers. In the 16th century, they started to rebuild the castle for King Stephen Batory. The main two-storied palace was of the Renaissance style. Opulence was its main feature. Stephen Batory loved Grodno and visited it very often. In 1586, Stephen came to Grodno again and stayed here forever. On Saturday, the 7th of December, he went to the church as usual, but he felt bad. 5 days later, he died. Later, the old castle suffered from wars. It was restored by 1678, but it didn't have its former royal gloss and longer. The first museum exhibits appeared here in 1920. The castle needed a restoration for a long period, but the expert didn't manage to decide what it should look like. The project by Minsk architect Vladimir Bychkov was taken as the basis. Today, the castle is being restored. The old castle is one of the most important tourist attractions in Grodno. A new castle was built just opposite the old castle as a residence of Polish kings. It was designed in the Rococo style, and the architects managed to combine the old castle and the new castle as one palace complex. The new castle has a shape like a letter P. The windows of one of the facades overlook the picturesque bank of the Niemen. The facade of the castle was very modest, but couldn't be said about its interior. This building was famous for the silent scene during which the second petition of the Polish Commonwealth was approved in November 1793. After that, the Russian authorities set up a hospital and barracks there. During the Second World War, the castle was completely destroyed. In 1952, it was rebuilt and restored in classical style. Only the entrance gate and the Sphinx saved the original looks. From 1950 till 1990s, the Grodno Regional Committee of the Communist Party of Belarus was situated here, and since 1990, the Historical and Archaeological Museum and the Regional Library, named after Karski, have been situated in the castle.
Grodno is a wonderful example of religious tolerance. In our city, you can meet representatives of 18 different confessions who live in peace and harmony together. As a result, there are a lot of various churches in Grodno.
Pilgrims from around the world and numerous tourists interested in history and architecture come to Belarus to see magnificent churches and ancient headroom of Belarus. St. Boris and Gleb, Color Church in the city of Grodno, is one of them. The St. Boris and Gleb Color Church in the city of Grodno was built in 1118 by architect Petr Milner on the high right bank of the river Niemen, opposite the castle hill on the territory of the former Color settlement. In the 16th and 17th centuries it was restored. In 1853 it was partially destroyed by landslides, and in 1889 the southern wall collapsed. And in 1910 and in 1935 conservation works were undertaken. and in 1917, 1985 and in 1987 conservation and repair works were carried out. The church is cross-domed building supported by 6 circular pillars. The outside is articulated with projecting pilasters, which have rounded corners, as does the building itself. The end nave contains the choir loft, accessed by a narrow gradatory in the western wall. 2 other stairs were discovered in the walls of the side apses. Their purpose is not clear. The floor is lined with ceramic tiles forming decorative patterns. The interior was lined with innumerable built-in pictures, which usually serve in Eastern Orthodox churches as resonators, but in this case were scored to produce decorative effects. For this reason, the central nave has never been painted. In 2004, the church was included into UNESCO World Heritage Sites list.
The city of Grodno is rich in different churches and cathedrals. One of them is St. Pokrov's Cathedral. The St. Pokrov's Cathedral is one of the most famous churches in our city. The cathedral was built in honor of soldiers of Grodno garrison who died in the Russian-Japanese War in 1904 or 1905. The cathedral was consecrated on the 30th of September in 1907. The cathedral faced a lot of difficulties and hardships. We didn't stop at the temple both during the occupation and the time of anti-religious terror. A new period in the life of the cathedral began in 1991.
A new memorial plaque in the memory of international soldiers who died in Afghanistan was opened in the cathedral. The cathedral was restored at the beginning of the 21st century. In the cathedral, you can find the miraculous icon of Kazan Mother of God, a copy of the cross of Euphrosyne Paulus, the icon of Saint Nicholas with his relics, is located in Saint Nicholas Chapel of the temple.
Different kinds of museums can be found in Grodno. House museums of outstanding people have an exceptional significance for our city. Today we will tell you about 2 of them.
Life of the famous Polish fighter GrGG is connected with Grodno. She was born in the county of Grodno in the family of landlord and lord. She moved to Grodno in 1863 and continued her life there. She did a lot of social activity and was famous feminist, but she died in 1910 after a heart disease.
The house of Eliza Zheshka in its present form is a copy of the house in which the writer lived for long years. It was situated much closer to the road before. The house of Eliza Zheshka opened its doors in 2009. A junior library, which is Grodno Regional Library branch, situated in the building after the reconstruction. The library is equipped with all modern technologies. 93,000 books, magazines, video and audio materials are kept in the front of the library. The writer moved into this house in 1894 and lived there for 16 years, till her death. Now in the house museum there is a good exposition devoted to the writer. Photos, pictures, books, reproductions, as well as the rare herbariums made by her hands. The small museum was placed in 2 rooms, where visitors are shown original lifetime editions of Zheshka and other authors of that time. For example, Tadeusz Sienkiewicz or Charles Dickens. The acquaintance with this house begins with the study of Eliza Zheshka. Books are the main property here. Most of them are published during her lifetime, including her main novel, Over the Nieman. Her most favorite place in the house was a small salon. She wrote and had a rest here, received guests and discussed charity projects with them. Classics albums were among such projects.
famous people were born and lived in Grodno, and one of them is Maxim Bogdanovich. Maxim Bogdanovich was born on the 9th of December 1981 in Minsk. The poet's father was his teacher. He was fond of studying the history and folklore of the Belarusian people. The family was happy. After the birth of Maxim, family moved to Grodno. Their life in Grodno was interesting, various, and funny. The museum of Maxim Bogdanovich was opened in 1986, where the family lived from 1892 until 1896.
The museum exposition is located in 5 rooms, which keep a great number of exhibits, documents, letters, family photos, the works of Grodno poets and writers. There are also family things and household items of the late 9th, early 20th century. The most interesting item in the exposition is the restored parents and their children's rooms. Maxim Bogdanovich was a poet, a philosopher, a historian. He spent very little time here in Grodno, but his life was interesting and full of exciting events. The museum is interesting not only for poetry lovers, but also for ordinary visitors who want to explore, to learn, and to discover Belarus.